Does the Snyder Cut exist? A question I've asked myself since the midnight screening of Justice League. I still remember to this day reading about all the news of the disaster the production was going through with Snyder arguing back and forth with Warner Bros. Execs. And then when Zack left due to the tragic loss of his daughter Autumn taking her own life, we were all left utterly devastated for Zack, and we stood with Zack and supported his decision to leave. We had hoped Warner Bros. Would let someone finish his film off. Instead they brought in Joss Whedon for reshoots, and then we heard that Junkie XL got let go and replaced by Danny Elfman, and then we heard Joss was making it a much more light-hearted film and adding and changing a lot of scenes to the point of it not being Snyder's vision anymore. From this point I knew things were bad. After the midnight screening I knew that was not a Zack Snyder film. I'm a huge fan of Snyder and have loved all his films and defended them to hell and back. He is a creative genius and I believe all his films will be forever remembered as classics in due time. I left the cinema in utter disappointment after the Justice League screening. I could not believe this mess we got, it was tragic. And then I heard all about the stories of people who had seen the early screening of Justice League when it was Zack's cut. And I remember how amazing it sounded. From that day, I've been waiting for an announcement of a Snyder Cut. I lost faith eventually. I didn't think it would ever come as so many people doubted it and put it down, but that faith did come back. I stand with the fans in waiting for this cut. I truly believe people somewhere are talking about the Snyder Cut and putting it together right now for a release. It might not be released for a while, but it's coming, my friends. I can feel it. I think we all know the reason why everyone is getting so hyped for a Snyder Cut, especially recently after Justice League's been out for such a while. Jay Oliva has built up so much hype on Twitter. I've followed him since I saw the news articles about him, and every day I check his tweets just to see if any new tidbit of information is out about the Snyder Cut. He's confirmed it exists, which is good enough for me, because he was very close with that Zack, even close enough for Zack to put an Easter egg of him in Batman vs Superman, which just proves that they're somewhat close friends because he has that much respect for him. I definitely think the Snyder Cut exists. Jay Lever's confirmed it. He just said it. He doesn't know whether it's coming or not. He's never really confirmed if it's coming or not. He's just said it exists and it could come in some time. Warner Brothers could put it together and release it. There's rumours that Zack Snyder's secretly putting it together and not going to release it, but he's going to try and persuade Warner Bros. To release it, which I think they would. As long as they didn't have to do much work and all they had to do was release it, they probably would. It wouldn't cost that much. And for the people that are saying it's a small portion of the fan base, it is absolutely not. It is not. The petition grew massively. There's pages on Facebook, all hundreds of people who are trying to get this cut released, showing the support. And it's a year later. What film can you say honestly where this far into it, people are still demanding a cut? There's barely any film. No one in 10 years are going to go, oh, Infinity War, we want the director's cut of it. It's just not going to happen. It just isn't going to. I loved Infinity War, but I'm not crapping on Marvel. I absolutely adore Marvel films. But no, this had only happened with a Snyder film and a DC film. People are demanding that cut. People want it. People will get it. I guarantee people will get it. Because if we stay demanding this cut, a big portion of the fanbase, not a small portion. All these news articles saying it's a tiny portion. It's absolutely not. Snyder's got a cult following, a true cult following, and we will not sleep until we see the Snyder Cut. I think at one point Jay Lever mentioned that the cut is actually 99 put together when Zack finished, because Zack, how he works, he does all the shots and that's his completed film. He very rarely goes back and reshoots or anything. What he's shot is a completed film, and Jay Lever said that 99% of that film was finished. The only thing that would have needed to be done was the extra VFX, which I'm sure wouldn't cost that much. And even then, they could release it without the finished VFX. We've had some poor CGI in really good films before. If I find the tweet where he said it, I'll put a screenshot of it in this video. But I'm certain he said it was 99% complete, and he said that only the VFX would need to be polished up and made to look a lot better, because obviously CGI and when the film's just getting edited and put together looks quite poor. I'm certain they only have very blank textures over the characters, or even still just have the actors acting out the motion capture, so probably would need a bit of work done. But I still believe it's very possible and it still could come. 100% a cut exists out there. Warner Brothers will be talking about it right now, talking about whether they should release it, whether it'd be worth it to make them money, what they want to do with Zack Snyder. And to be fair, I wouldn't be surprised if they're just letting hype build and build and build and build, and then out of nowhere they just say the Snyder Cut's ready, it's getting released next month on Blu-ray as a special edition, and then they announce a few collector's editions to make the money, because obviously even though we are a big portion of the fan base, we're not going to make them millions if they re-release it again on just Blu-ray sales. But if they release collector's editions of Justice League with like statues of all the characters and made it worth like, I'm not sure, £200 or $300, $400 or even more, people will buy it, and they'll probably make a lot of money from them sales alone, and all the memorabilia, and people buying Justice League stuff again, people getting hyped about the DC universe again, people being hopeful about Justice League Part 2 and realising that Warner Bros. Still can do right and they can still give us really good films. It's just a matter of waiting and seeing what happens. But for the next few years, I'll be truly standing by wanting a Snyder Cut. I will only give up on a Snyder Cut in about 5-10 years. Then I will just, if we've had not a single piece of official confirmation from someone at Warner Bros. Or Zack Snyder himself. In my honest opinion, I genuinely think a Snyder Cut of Justice League is out there somewhere, nearly finished, and it's getting discussed about getting released in the next few years already. I bet we'll have some form of official recognition of it over the next year, even if it is someone saying it exists but we're not releasing it. I am 100% certain that we'll be getting some form of official recognition. There's too much demand for it. I just couldn't believe otherwise at all. I really just couldn't believe otherwise. But then at the same time, this is entirely my opinion. Jay Lever said it exists, but he says the early cut exists, which doesn't mean much really, to be honest. Like, Warner Bros. Still could say not too much money to release, even though it's a finished cut, it wouldn't be worth the money to release. I might be wrong about most of the stuff in this video. They might not even be talking about it. They might have just pushed it to one side, and they might just be ignoring the fans. We might not be vocal enough. They might think it's not worth the money. Zack Snyder might not even be working on it. These rumours might just be articles trying to get views because they know we'll click on them. I click on them straight away, even if it's a journalist I absolutely despise. I'll click on it straight away because I want to see what the new news is about the Snyder Cut. But I might be wrong, I might be right. Hopefully I'm very right. I still have a lot of faith, and it's going to take a lot to put me down about the Snyder Cut. It's something I really want, especially as a fan of Man of Steel, as a fan of BVS. I absolutely adored both of them films. They're in my top 5 films without a doubt, and most of Snyder films are in my top 10, top 20 films, and I'd probably genuinely cry if a Snyder Cut of Justice League got released. I'd genuinely probably cry. It'd be something I've been wishing for the last year. It'd be a dream come true. It really would be. I'd want that more than most things at the moment. I'd absolutely dream of a Snyder Cut. But at the same time, I might be wrong, so it's hard because you don't want to get people's hopes up, but at the same time, you want to build hype, because if Warner Bros. Think that we've all just went, oh well, it doesn't exist, who cares? They will just not bother. But if we keep this hype and stay together and try and show them how much we want it, we've got more chance of getting it. So it's better to stay faithful than it is to just let our hype die. So that's all I have to say on the Snyder Cut at the moment until more news comes out. But keep your faith. It's coming. We all know it's coming.